Good evening, everyone. Welcome again. Can I get a test? Make sure my sound and everything's coming through. Can I get a 5x5 from someone, please? If they just tell me that you can all hear me okay, I'd really appreciate that, just to make sure before we get fully into it. And I don't know that I'm just talking to thin air and you can't hear me. And hello to everyone. All good. Matty Boy Scout says all good. Cheers, Matt. Thank you very much. And I'll say hello to everyone in a minute. Thank you very much, Kendo. So let's just do the legal stuff first of all. Where's my notes? Let me go to my notes. So yeah, welcome to Health Freedom. This is your show that is presented by not a Dr. Robert. No, I'm not a doctor. My name is Robert, and this show is for entertainment and fun purposes only. And if you want some health advice or legal advice, please go and see someone who's fully qualified to do that, because yeah, you won't get it from me. So tonight we've got a different show for you. We're going to be presenting a special show with the one and only allegedly Dave. I'm going to bring Dave in a minute, and I shall be covering all sorts of subjects. Fundamentally, we're going to stick with health. But what I want to do is I just want to give you some background on Dave before we start. I mean, we've got 11 people watching now, so I'm just gonna read through from Dave's website as if I'm Dave. Okay, so also what I'd like you to do is, if you've got a question, please put it in the chat and I'll try and highlight it. Okay, and if any good questions, I'll try and pass to Dave. I don't know how. I'll ask Dave in a minute how long we've got him for. But normally this show runs for 2 hours, but Dave might only be able to do an hour. I don't know, but I'll find out soon. So this is from Dave's website. He says, "Hi, I'm known as allegedly Dave, and I am just an ordinary bloke from Basildon in Essex who has had some pretty extraordinary things happen to him. I experienced a midlife crisis in 2005 and began a journey of self-discovery, culminating in a realization that in order for any of this madness to change, I had to be the change that I wanted to see. And to me, that meant turning away from the system that is enslaving us, taking back responsibility for all aspects of my life, help my fellow man, and hopefully inspire others by example. So I gave away my possessions, gave up working to help construct the means to our own slavery and ultimate destruction, gave up living in a house, gave up contributing to the slaughter of innocents abroad, gave up the benefits of the system, and now I travel around helping people, and on the way discovering and sharing my findings about who we are, what we are capable of, and how our universe works. Everything I do with no thought or reward, everything I discover or invent will be shared free of charge. Everything on this site, everything I have to give, including my time, skills, and assistance, is offered freely to anyone who needs them. Now, I'm not trying to be a saint. I'm just hoping that those that I help will be more inclined to help others in the same way and start an exceptional shift away from the competition-based society. That being said, the astute among you would have noticed the donate menu on his website, which, while I do not seek financial help or material gain, I do have to concede that in order to continue helping people and complete building and complete various projects, I will need some help myself, whether it's money, building materials, electronic components, the occasional train ticket, or even just a kind word of support, wherever it may be, or all your donations are appreciated and accepted. I care and I'm here to help. I grew up in Basildon, started working as an animator and a graphic artist, but soon transitioned into computer programming. And after a few years, I was headhunted by a New York consultancy company. And long before, I was working for the most prestigious, evil, and greedy and dishonest and manipulative Fortune 500 companies in the city. I joined the local volunteer fire department, also started my own business that I ran in my spare time, and it didn't take long before I was earning serious amounts of money. We bought a large house, soon remodeled it, doubling its size. My wife and I bought cars we had always dreamed of, and I had a man cave full of the latest gadgets and toys. I was deeply in the matrix, and I truly believed that the world worked the way I was shown it worked on television, and that life as it was presented to me was the way it was supposed to be. After a layoff, I turned down a job offer, this is interesting, on the 40th floor of Tower 1 of the World Trade Center, and took a job almost directly across the Hudson River in New Jersey and watched in disbelief as the events of 9/11 at very close range. The attack on the World Trade Center was the beginning of my amazing journey, but it didn't fully manifest until 2005, when I suddenly saw through the deception behind 9/11 and had my midlife crisis at the same time. After returning to England in 2009, I attempted to re-enter the Matrix, but as Morpheus said, once you've taken the red pill, there's no turning back. I started a group that gathered over 600 people called the Free Man League, with the goal of building a self-sufficient eco-village. We got to the stage where we had the designs and we were just about to buy the land when we experienced a negative backlash with some of the local people. One characteristic of the awakening process is that one discovers that in every aspect of life, we have been given away our responsibility for it to those who are profiting from it and using it against us in some fashion. The phrase that I often hear from Unwoken is, "Come on, Dave, not everything is conspiracy." Well, as it happens, pretty much everything is a conspiracy. So I began researching into money, banking, debt, the law, corporations, government, history, and alternative health. In 2012, I started an experiment to see if I could wean myself off of the Matrix by working for a period of 3 months and seeing if I could make that money stretch for 6 months. I helped found Awake Radio, where I hosted Allegedly Speaking and Voice of the Resistance radio shows. Awake Radio has since grown to encompass 3 continents with an international array of hosts and journalists spawned as on an internet TV station has gathered a substantial following to dedicated listeners. Not long after starting Awake Radio, I got the idea to buy a motorhome for some inexplicable reason, but I soon found myself feeling the urge to leave the house I was renting, which I duly ignored until the universe took my hand and set me on a path to try and find a different way to live. The 6 months after which I plan to go back into the Matrix to make some more money has stretched to beyond 4 years, and now I travel around helping people free of charge. I eat very little food, have few material needs, but nonetheless, I do accept donations to help me continue to travel with others. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to the one and only, allegedly, Dave. Hi, Dave.
Hello there. Did I write all that?
You did write all that. You haven't heard it for ages, have you?
I've never had actually heard it read out. So
no, isn't it funny when you hear it back? Probably. I bet that was. I mean, that's going back in history, isn't it? Come on, then share when you wrote that. 2014, 20.
Oh wow, no, it was around about that because yeah, I had a previous website that got hacked, and it all went down, and I lost a lot, so I had to rebuild it around about 2014. Yeah.
Well, it's great to have you here, and okay, so let's just share with everyone how you and I got this together. So I went to see, and so did Dave, the one and only Tunde from the Lighthouse family in Milton Keynes, and I was sitting there, and I was saying to my friends and my partner, "Oh, you never see anyone, do you, around here that you recognise or anything?" And then, as if by magic, as if that old TV program Mr. Ben used to say, as if by magic, Dave pops up, and I see Dave, and I went to, and I'm of course, out of the 4 of us, I was the only one that recognised you. Sorry, Dave.
Right.
I went, "It's Dave, it's Dave," and I came running over to Dave, and we had a hug, and eventually I introduced myself. And believe it or not, I did actually want to get Dave on. And so I popped the question, as in the interview question. And Dave very kindly said, yeah, he'd come on. And the weird thing about that night is Dave was with some other people. And when we were communicating, I said, were those other people with you? I think it's someone famous. And he said, yeah. And I guess I said, it wasn't Phil Fearon, was it, from Galaxy? And he said, yeah, it was. And who was the other one? Baby D.
Baby D, yeah.
Let Me Be Your Fantasy.
That's right.
And how do they know each other then?
Because they're married to each other.
Oh, are they? I didn't know. I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. So I was with them, and
you were their guests, weren't you?
Yeah, they're the famous ones. So they're sort of people was coming up to them and say, "Oh, you're Phil," and they didn't expect it when somebody came up to me and goes, "Oh, allegedly Dave."
Yeah, because I think I came up to you before anyone went up to them, didn't I?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, that was good. That was just so odd. That was just so weird. And tell everyone why you were in Milton Keynes with them as well, because you'd been doing something there. You've been doing one of your speaking tours.
Sure, I was doing a talk in a place quite close by, place is Cafe Belge, and yeah, I think I was giving a talk on, I think it was alternative health actually,
Was it?
and
Oh,
yeah,
why did I miss that, Dave?
and yeah, so when I do talks up that way, I hang out with Phil for a little while, and yeah, this came up while I was there.
Have you? And the reason you know Phil is because Phil's been a follower of yours, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, again, the first time I did a talk in Milton Keynes,
Yeah.
I was getting set up, and somebody started playing, what do I do? One of Galaxy's songs,
Galaxy,
and
yeah.
I was like, why are they playing that? I looked up, and Phil Fearon was walking towards me, and I ran up to him and went, "You're Phil Fearon," and he went, "You're allegedly Dave."
It's so funny, isn't it? How things just work out like that, you know?
Yeah.
And so this friendship, this bond has just built between you since then.
Absolutely. He was actually one of my heroes back in the day, because used to dance to his music all the time, and
Yeah.
his album was like it wrapped up the spirit of the 80s. If you don't know if you know the album, it's got him doing a star jump on the front cover.
Well,
And it's all
I think I've got
bright
the
colourful.
12-inch single,
Right.
and I think it's the same. And I think it's the same cover.
Yeah.
I think it's
that shot, that cover encapsulated the spirit of the 80s for me. It's bright and colourful and joyful and fun, and yeah, that was the 80s for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I was talking to my partner the other day about what I used to recognize myself as in the 80s, and I used to recognize myself as a bit of a soul boy,
Right.
And I used to go to the best disco in town with Capital Radio. I don't know if you ever used to listen to that on a Friday night.
Yeah.
And you had the legendary Greg Edwards was DJing then, and other top Capital Radio DJs at the time. I used to go down there all the time, Dave, down to the Lyceum Ballroom in the Strand.
Yeah, me too. I was there as well.
No, you weren't.
I was back in the day a couple of times. Yeah.
Wow, isn't that weird that we could have met actually?
Good. Well.
Oh, we both must be similar ages then, Dave. 37.
Yeah. No, I'm 25. I don't know what the hell you're
sorry.
talking about.
So yeah, let me just say hello to a few people, Dave, in the chat. A few people are saying hello to you as well. Let me just see who's in, who's here tonight, and yeah, if could the moderators just keep an eye on the chat and make sure that there's no trolls wanting to troll me or Dave tonight. That'd be great. Hello, Miss Blue Sky. Hello, Ron. Hello, Mascara. Nick. Matty Boy is my son. He's watching. He's tuned in tonight. Kitty. Rich T's here as well. Chris. Kendo. Who else have we got? Spanish Chicken. Oh, Spanish Chicken's a big a Shalimar fan as well.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it? Now, Dave was at a Shalimar concert last night, wasn't it, Dave?
It was on Friday night. Yeah.
Oh, Friday night. There we go. Yeah. And isn't their album 40 years old now?
Absolutely. Yeah. Friends, 40 years old.
Friends. What an album. I've got the album. I've still got it on vinyl.
Yeah, I lost all my vinyl, but yeah, I've still got it somewhere.
Oh, you didn't, did you?
Yeah. Before I went to America, I gave all my albums, or I left it in storage with my mother-in-law, and she put it in her loft, and then she moved and left it all in the loft.
No. Oh. And Jimmy's in the house as well. Who else is here? Anyone else that I've missed? Nice to see Jimmy, Chris. I think I've got everyone so far now. Let's have a look. Anyone I missed out? I don't think so. So good evening to everyone. Yeah, and if you've got a question, I'll try and see it. I'll try and see it. And Dave, how long have we got you for tonight?
Well, I'm quite kind of free tonight. This is
Oh,
you actually caught
okay.
me on my week off.
Yeah, and and Dinny's here. We haven't seen Dinny for a while. Nice to see Dinny. Dinny's from based in Germany there. So, Dave, tell people what you're currently doing. Then you're doing a tour, aren't you? You're going up and down the country giving talks. Tell us all about
Well, you just told everyone. Yeah, yeah.
that.
So yeah, I
Subject
started.
matters you're covering, Dave. You
Yeah,
cheeky man.
I started the tour in March, and I've been going almost non-stop since then. I've done about 60 dates so far, and the subject matters kind of varies. I've done some alternative health. It's mainly been about mortgages, how to deal with this mortgage Armageddon that's on its way, and how to potentially keep your house and maybe even get some money back from it. So um, done a bit about tax and utilities, or council tax and utilities, um, and um, and also my favorite talk of all, which is called Navigating the Matrix, and it's all
Uh-huh.
about how to play this game that we're embroiled in now,
Mm.
and what it's all about, and along the way, the meaning of life and what happens after you die.
Are any of these talks online?
A couple of them are. The tax and utilities one is online. Navigating the Matrix is on there, but it's an early one. It's an early version. It's actually
Okay.
like the second one I did,
Is this on your
and
YouTube site, Dave?
on my YouTube channel. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, good. Okay. And how have they gone down? They're going down well. Your chats.
Absolutely. I've got a lot of feedback from people, especially the mortgage one, because there are a lot of worried people out there, and
Mm.
the overwhelmingly I've had people come up to me afterwards saying thank you, because they feel a lot better and they feel like they've got a plan of action now.
Have you had any success stories that have come back to you from your presentations?
What
Like,
specifically the ones I'm giving?
yeah, yeah,
Because
like the mortgage ones, for example, where maybe someone was in a lot of trouble and now they've pulled it back or
well,
whatever.
it's a bit early days for that. I mean, I'm
Oh, is
just
it?
giving them now. Yeah. So
Right. So that's
the
quite a new talk.
process, yeah, it's very new.
Right.
I wrote it um, just before I came back to the country in March, and I started giving it, as soon as I came back. So it's early days, and it's what I'm proposing is quite a long process. So it's as far as successes are concerned, this is a difficult one, um, and like all of these things, all these processes that you might do for council tax or parking tickets or whatever, it's not about the templates and the words you use. It's about you. It's about your fortitude and courage and dedication to it. Yeah.
Mm.
um I could give you the perfect template that works 100% of the time, but if you don't know what you're doing, yeah, you'll get trampled over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how? What's the forum then when you give these talks? Is it a question and answer thing at the end and stuff like that?
No, not really. It's
No?
because most of the time people are a bit too I answer questions throughout the talk
Right.
anyway, but
Okay.
most of the questions are usually covered in the body of the talk anyway. So normally at the end people are a bit overwhelmed, but in the mortgage talk, I anyone who's been to the talk, I actually put them into a Telegram group where I post all the slides, the videos, and the templates eventually, and there's space for everyone to share their experiences and get support.
I didn't know you had a Telegram. Is that a closed group? Your Telegram,
The mortgage one is a closed one because
right?
until I release the video, the talk as a video,
Yeah.
I'm not planning to do that anytime soon.
Right.
But it's dangerous if people have access to these templates, because you'll get the obvious people who'll go, oh, if I use this template, it will get me out of my mortgage, so I'll just fill in my name here and send it off and it will all be done. Yeah. That will be dangerous for them, and sort of destructive to anybody else who's doing it.
I think the mortgage one is a really important. I mean, like, we're seeing interest rates now, people struggling to hit like 6%. And I saw something like there's going to be, I think 90% of people's mortgage deals are coming to the end this year or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I in the talk, I explained that after the last mortgage crash, which was in the kind of late 90s, there was a glut of cheap houses on the market, and the banks put out their fishing lines and hooked a new generation of suckers.
Yeah.
And those mortgages are coming to term now.
Right.
And doesn't matter what type of mortgage you've got, it's going to bite you in the bum.
Right.
And you're going to get to a point, because there's a lot of people who've got interest only mortgages, which means at the end of the term you've still got to come up with a lump sum for the amount of the principal, which nobody's going to have. So all of a sudden you're going to get all these people who've got to come up with this lump sum, and all they can, the only choice they've got is to sell the house or walk away from it. And well, as soon as a lot of people out there selling their houses, well, the market crashes.
Yeah.
So
it looks like it's about to happen, doesn't it? Any day soon now.
Because as I said, these mortgages are coming to term around about now. So it's all planned. It was all planned.
And what what gives you where's your motivation come from, Dave? Like, I read a bit about you there, about that you do it all for free. Like, how does someone organize a talk with you?
Well, I say to people, look, if you can get a few people together, right, and have somewhere to hold it, I'll come and give a talk. And that's what that's how all these these talks came about, because somebody took the lead and were able to gather people and get a venue together.
Yeah. And you've got some coming, and you've got, I noticed you've got a few, because we've got a few people in Scotland. You've got a couple of ones coming up in Scotland, haven't you?
Yes, I have. I've got something like four events in Scotland. I'm waiting to hear back from people in Inverness and Aberdeen. And so there may be more added.
Excellent. Well done. Let me go to so I just wanted to ask you just some silly questions, because I know people probably wouldn't know this, like some quick fire questions, Dave.
Okay.
Have you ever broken a bone?
Actually, no, I don't think I ever have.
No, nor have I. No. Okay, good. What's the best concert you ever attended?
Oh, hands down, Michael Jackson. I went to every single Michael Jackson concert in Wembley.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, you lucky man. I had to sell my Michael Jackson tickets for Milton Keynes when he played at the Bowl, because I couldn't afford it at the time.
Well, the last time... Sorry, go on.
No, something to do with a high mortgage.
Well, the last time I went to the Michael Jackson concert, it was we started in the middle of Wembley football field, right in the middle, and me and my friend were standing there, and every few minutes a space would open up in front of us, and we just walk into it.
Yeah.
And we kept doing that, and we ended up right on the front, holding the guardrail.
Wow. Oh,
don't know how it happened. It just, spaces just kept opening up. We just strolled into it. And my near claim to fame is when Michael Jackson did Billie Jean. He threw his hat into the audience. I reached up for it, and the hat just went right through my fingers like that. And I nearly got it, but then a woman got it behind me, and a whole load of people jumped on her as soon as she got the hat. But anyway,
I bet. Well, I guess so. Come on then. What's your favorite music then? Is it soul music if it's Michael Jackson?
Yeah, soul, garage, and back in the day when I was Yeah, in the early 80s, I was a new romantic. So at the time,
Oh, a bit of Duran Duran.
yeah, Human League was my favorite at the
Human
time.
League.
Yeah.
He still sounds pretty good, doesn't he?
I didn't know they were still performing.
Yeah, he's still. I watched him perform the other day on YouTube, and his voice is still pretty good. I was quite shocked actually because
Well,
I
as
mean
a singer, was he ever really good, or
no,
was he
yeah, I
just
know what you
was
mean.
he just shouting his
I
lyrics?
know what you mean. I know what
Don't
you mean.
you want me, baby?
Yeah, the girls were definitely dodgy, weren't they? All-time favorite artist then, is it Michael Jackson?
Yeah, it would be. Have to be.
Yeah, and have you? I think I know the answer to this. Have you ever attended a music festival?
I'm not really a music festival guy, but I would speak at festivals, and there was a lot of music there. But I've never gone to, say, Glastonbury or anything like
All
that.
right, okay. Favorite film, Dave? Do you have a
Ooh,
favorite?
I've got loads of favorite films actually.
Have you? Name what first one, top of your head. Come on.
Star Wars.
Star Wars. Okay.
Yeah.
Force is strong in you, Luke. Favorite and least favorite food?
Favorite food? Oh, well, that's a difficult one because these days my favorite food is fruit.
Okay.
And least favorite.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's so much. I don't know. Food is a weird one because it's no longer a question of favorites anymore. It's what's actually edible now, which is there isn't very much that's edible these days.
Do you cook a meal? Will you cook?
I used to love cooking,
Yeah.
but these days I don't cook. I mean, my my stove has been inactive for quite some time. Last thing I cooked was mushrooms and peppers and onions and stuff.
Are you a vegetarian?
Yeah, tend to be. Yeah, I do eat
Okay.
fish occasionally.
Tend to be. So you will eat meat occasionally. Okay.
Fish,
Okay.
not meat.
Oh, fish. Okay. Favorite place to go visit?
Favorite place to go visit? Well, there's a place that I go to, which I call the second most beautiful place in the world, which is just down the road from me. It's called the High and Over, and it's you end up on the top of a hill where there's a white horse carved into the side of the hill, and that hill is on the edge of a valley, and in the bottom of the valley is a river that goes out to the sea, and it's just an amazing place. And I would go up there and I'd sit and just, maybe 2 or 3 hours would just disappear because it's such a beautiful spot.
Do I remember you've got a place abroad as well? You've got a home abroad.
Not so much a home abroad. Yeah, my mum's got a place, over in St. Lucia.
Right, that's it. Yeah.
And the best place in the world actually is where is on the island of St. Lucia. It's a place that I call the corner of the island, and it's a beach right down on in the south, and it's literally got a spot where the Caribbean Sea comes in, and the Atlantic Ocean meets it, and they come in from two different directions. And there's a point where they overlap, and it's amazing. You can literally where it overlaps, you can just walk out for a long way. It's really shallow because of the way the water sort of interacts with each other. You can walk out a long way, and you're standing there in the middle of the ocean. That's one side's really calm, one side's really wild, and it's just an amazing place anyway.
Excellent. And what would you say is your greatest achievement so far?
Oh, great. I hate these questions. It's like I'm being interviewed. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? I don't bloody know. Yeah. Greatest achievement.
Yeah.
I guess apart from my children, it's surviving. I think surviving this intact.
Okay. Thanks for that. So where I just wanted to ask you, so about health, where and how did you gain your health knowledge, Dave? I mean, let me just, I mean, for me, Dave Dave was one of the people that I got Dave's book here. Look, see, backwards. There you go. Look, there you go. Look, see, there we go. And Dave was one of the people that certainly got me into distilled water. So where did you gain all your knowledge from? I mean, I've gained it from people like you and people like Clive de Carl and Amanda Vollmer and things like that. That's where I've listened, got the wisdom from. And where have you gained yours from?
Well, when I was in America, I succumbed to to SADS, which is the standard American diet, right? And I got fat and sick, very fat and sick. I was nearly 20 stone, and I started getting all these health problems. I had a cancer scare while I was over there, and the doctor was telling me all these, now that you're 40, you're going to come down with this, that, and the other. I was like, well, how the hell do you know? And I looked at the list of things he said I was going to get, and I thought, well, hang on a minute. If I was in England, I wouldn't be getting sickle cell anemia, why? So hang on. If I'm, I go to England, I won't get half the things on this list, right? But I'll get other things that aren't on their list. So how it's not dependent on me; it's dependent on where I am. Right? So I started looking outside of the medical system, because every time I went to the medical system, I just ended up getting worse. So I started looking outside, trying all different things. And it wasn't until 2011 when I went into a talk about urine therapy. And me and my friends walked in there kind of like, tell us about drinking your piss, wee lady, and we were kind of like, no way, this is going to be a laugh. And by halfway through, we're all sitting there like, this is amazing. Yeah. And particularly for me, this was a woman called Sylvia Chandler, and she brought along a guy called Flo, who basically was there to talk about his experiences with asthma. Now, I'd been an asthma sufferer from I don't know, from the age of 5 or something. And, when he told me that, he healed his asthma with just urine, my ears pricked up. I thought, so all of us, me and my friends, walked out of there, and we all pledged that we were going to do it the next day. And all of us did. And all of us have had our lives transformed by it.
Wow.
And once I saw the benefits of it, I decided to try and research why it was healing us. And that's where the book came from.
Right. So, and so would you say then, and then what then led you to other things to, about health, about discovering about health and being able to pass that knowledge on?
Well, it was, learning about urine therapy made me realize that, we'd been thinking about, this idea of health all wrong. Yeah. The prevailing idea is that the human body, evolved from apes and stuff. That means we're not fully complete, because, evolution is an ongoing process. So,
Right.
The mainstream view is that, we're not perfect. We're still trying to get there. Yeah. And we came about by accident. So, all sorts of things are wrong with us. Yeah. But the view I was starting to find was that actually the human body is perfect. The misconception we have is that it's doing the best it can under the circumstances we're putting it in.
Yeah.
So we're in a poisonous environment, and our bodies are constantly being poisoned, and they're trying to detox from these poisons, but there's so much that we're fighting a losing battle. And as our health goes down, all symptoms start appearing. You know, they're not separate diseases. They're essentially, there's only one disease, right? Bad health, right?
Right.
As your level of health starts to go down, symptoms appear. And what doctors do is they grab a set of symptoms and lump them together and call it a disease.
Yeah.
It's not a disease. It's literally the fact your health is declining, and your body is doing various emergency responses to try and heal itself, and that's what they call disease. All you have to do is start raising your body's level of health, and as the level goes up, the symptoms disappear.
Right.
It's as
Okay.
simple as that. So yeah, that's what came out of understanding what urine therapy was doing.
Yeah. Someone asked I used in the chat. There was a question. I just saw it here. Is Dave still doing urine therapy? Are you still doing that?
Absolutely, every single day.
Every day.
Every single day for the last 12 years.
Wow. Wow. And what other things do you is urine used for? Like I think I read a bit in your book, or not your book, on your website, about you can put it on the skin and things like that. It's good for the skin.
You can use it in 1,000 different ways. Yeah. Yes, massage it into the skin. It puts the elasticity back into the skin. Wrinkles will start to disappear. You know, my skin isn't like 60-year-old skin. It doesn't seem like it. You know,
Yeah.
you can do urine enemas. You can use urine in an eye wash. You can
Right.
snort it up your nose. You can put it in your ears. You can use what we call a urine pack, where you soak say a piece of cotton material in your urine, put it over the site of any injuries, and wrap it in place with cling film. And not only will it get rid of any pain, because urine is actually a natural analgesic, it will eventually start to heal a lot faster than it would normally.
There's a woman I follow sometimes called Barbara O'Neill. I don't know if you've heard of her, Australian lady, I think she is.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes on about compresses with castor oil to heal as well. Yeah.
Well, the thing about using urine is that your urine is packed with stem cells.
Right. And I was
So
going to ask you, what's the health benefits behind it? Why is it so good for people? Because of that, stem cells.
Not only because of stem cells, but the stem cells are a very powerful element. I mean, and you can see them at work. If you were to cut yourself, right, and you're bleeding profusely, right, put urine on it straight away, right, the bleeding stops, and within a couple of minutes, there's a film already, healing it over. And okay, so there was an example where I was going off to give a talk in a field, actually, and I was at a hotel, and the bedside tables were those tables with like a glass top on it, and the glass top on one side was a bit askew. So being a bit OCD about these things, I used my thumb to kind of push the glass, or try and push the glass back straight, and it wouldn't move. So I was really pushing, and I didn't realize that the glass had been broken, and I was literally pushing against a knife edge almost.
Oof.
And I looked down, and there was blood pumping out my thumb. So I went to the toilet, weed on my thumb, right, and wrapped a piece of wet tissue around it, and I went to the talk. And during the talk, somebody said, "Oh, you do urine therapy, don't you? Does that work?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I just cut my thumb," and I went to show them my thumb, and I couldn't see the cut. I couldn't find it anymore. Yeah. After a while, I detected a faint line, and if I moved it, I could see where it cut in, but it was gone. Yeah.
I heard that if you got a burn, to use it on burns, and it stops, it heals the skin. You
Absolutely.
you wrap you piss on a rag and then wrap that round the burn, and it stops it.
I've got a couple of stories about that. I was giving a talk in Conscious Camp in Wales, and the organizer, while I was giving the talk, was laughing at me, you know, all the way through my talk, right, and shaking his head. Obviously, didn't believe what I was talking about. But later on that night, he was sitting around a fire pit, and somebody tipped the fire pit all over his legs, and he got third-degree burns. And there was a nurse, you know, amongst their group, so she kind of tried to slaver his legs with aloe vera, but it wasn't working. He was screaming his head off. So they called for me. I was on the other side of the field. I went over, I weed in a glass, and I started pouring urine into his leg. And as soon as the urine hit his leg, he screamed, and then he was like, "Oh, it doesn't hurt anymore." So I kept pouring it over his leg while they were getting a dressing ready. And with the remaining urine, I just poured it over the dressing, and they wrapped his leg up. The next day, he was walking around on it, and he was so shocked that, you know, he started doing a video log of how his leg was doing, and he was amazed. And now he talks about urine therapy like he's an expert. But I think that's because he's now got some allegedly Dave DNA in his leg. So,
I mean, a lot of people, say, what is there a way that you can make it more palatable, Dave?
well, I would ask why are people such pussies? Look, it's medicine. It's not meant to taste of marshmallows and strawberries. Yeah, it's medicine.
Why
It's
not,
literally,
Dave?
you know, if you you could get some pharmaceutical medicine which tastes all nice and lovely, but it's horrible. It's poisonous stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah. This is your own body creating what it needs. Yeah, it's
yeah,
literally got the antidote of whatever that you're dealing with. The antidote is in your urine. Yeah,
yeah.
and it's not meant to taste nice, right? So I tell people, you know, drink your piss and stop being a pussy. If
um,
look, what is the alternative? Okay, you've got something that's likely to plague you. If you go to the medical establishment, you'll end up with something that will plague you for a long time, and then will just be managed by the drugs. And on the way, it will cause some other problems, which then plague you some more, which you'll need more drugs for, which will cause something else, and so on and so on and so on. You
yeah,
could either go that route and have stuff that tastes nice and lovely, or you could take the stuff that's going to heal you. And even if it does taste a little unpleasant, and the point is, it doesn't taste as bad as you think it does.
yeah. Yeah. I just quickly saw a question here, actually, Dave. You might be able to answer it from Hello New Being. And New Being's a regular on my show. New Being said, I heard as a child that saliva on small wounds, itching marks for insect bites is a bit easier than peeing on them. Possibly the same effect.
It is a similar effect, but the urine is even more powerful. You know, we know that most people know that if you get a jellyfish sting, you're supposed to wee on it, and it will draw out the toxin. Yeah.
Right.
Well, it does it to all toxins, anything that shouldn't be in the skin. Which, you know, your skin is the largest toxic eliminator of the whole body.
And it's the
Yeah.
largest organ in your body, isn't it?
Indeed, but
Yeah.
most of the toxins come out through your skin. So, you know, the urine stimulates the skin to draw it out. So,
Right.
yes, you can put saliva on it, but it won't work as quickly and as efficiently as urine. Again, if you have a cut, right, and you put urine on it, you don't get scars. You know, just like I couldn't find the cut on my thumb, right?
Yeah.
You literally don't get a scar.
Yeah.
You have a burn. I've got okay. I had somebody contact me from Uganda, and a little boy had he either fell in a cauldron of porridge or the porridge fell over him, and
Yeah.
he got third-degree burns over his face and his shoulder and arm, right? and he obviously couldn't afford the reconstructive surgery that he apparently was going to need. Now somebody contacted me, and I've got a picture of the before and after when he started urine therapy. And within a week or so, you can see all the burnt skin, which still had porridge attached to it because they couldn't take the porridge out without ripping the skin off. All that skin had fallen off, and there was new, fresh skin underneath that was coming through.
Wow. Someone's asked in the chat from Nick, do I have to use my own wee, or will anybody's work, Dave?
Anybody's wee will help in a pinch, right? It will work, but your own is going to be perfect for you, because what wee is, right, it's not a waste product. What happens is your blood goes to your liver, and your liver takes out all the impurities, the toxins, the pathogens, anything, you know, that shouldn't be in the bloodstream. Your liver will take out.
Right.
The purified blood goes to your kidneys, and your kidneys are there to keep your blood in balance. Yeah. So again, it's purified blood that goes in there. So everything that's in your bloodstream, if there's too much of it, then that's just as bad as having not enough. So the excess is removed and stored in your bladder. So if you've got too much water in your bloodstream, well, the excess water is going to be taken out. Your body always needs water. Yeah. Can always use water. So that's why all these things are stored in your bladder, because your body doesn't store waste. Yeah. It wants to get rid of waste as quickly as possible, but it stores urine because it's full of all these excess vitamins, minerals, enzymes, you know, whatever that good stuff that's in the bloodstream that's just happens to be too much of at that moment, where it's going to be stored in your bladder, so that your body can reabsorb it when necessary. The only reason you urinate is because, you know, if your storage compartment is already full and your kidneys are trying to put more excess in there, the only thing it can do is dump it overboard. It doesn't want to do it, but it has to.
Right. Okay. Thanks for that, Dave. And there's a few thanks in the chat as well. And let's move on then from that. And what do you? Oh, and all your references, you reference everything in there, don't you, Dave?
Yeah,
it's all referenced in there, because you give like other books as well. I love this book. I think it's great. And again, it covers so many different things as well. And I would recommend it to anyone. And if you want to, Dave actually does a little sample PDF, don't you, Dave, on your website?
Yes, yeah, it's I'll just show the first couple of chapters and stuff.
That's right, yeah. So I've started to grow my own food, Dave. I mean, do you in an allotment for the very first time? Do you grow your own food?
Well, I used to. I had a polytunnel just over here that I was growing all this food in, but because I was off and about doing doing talks and stuff, I'd find myself away from home a lot, and I came back and found all my plants were dead because there was nobody here to
look after them.
look after them. So
yeah,
so literally, because I'd stopped using the polytunnel, somebody else decided to use it, and now it's being used for storage. So I kind of lost out there. But for a while, I was growing my own stuff.
Yeah. Did you enjoy it?
Oh, absolutely. There's a certain, I don't know, there's a certain feeling to, you know, that when you grow your own stuff and you've got your looking at a plate of the food that you've nurtured into existence, you know, there's something magical about that.
That's energy, isn't it? I mean, that's again, you know, it's like saying being grateful for the food on your plate as well. And what do you call God? The Most High, is it?
The Most High, yeah.
The Most High, yeah. We're going to cover some stuff on religion a bit later. Can you? What is belief adjustment, and does it fit in with German New Medicine, Dave?
To be honest, I don't know very much about German New Medicine. I haven't really studied anything about that, to be honest.
So, I mean, what I understand about German New Medicine is that every trauma will leave a marker on your brain. Okay, and that marker in that particular part of your brain could be your kidneys, it could be your eyes, it could be your liver, it could be your breast. So an example of that would be maybe a mother just before she's about to give birth to a child, losing that baby. Okay, and then she then has lost the ability to breastfeed. Okay, so she then maybe gets a trauma in that part of her body, and then maybe she gets a lump. Okay,
Right.
now, and then she goes to the doctor, and the doctor says, "Oh," and then we X-ray it and we create radiation, and the doctor says, "Yeah, you've got a lump there," and then she gets more trauma. Yeah,
Mm.
and that's German New Medicine. So, and it's about so rather than just like accepting that the lump is going to be there because you've had a loss, that and it will eventually go away. It then can manifest itself into something much bigger and greater, and it will stress you out to the point where your health will start to deteriorate. Is that same sort of thing, adjustment belief? Or
Kind of.
kind of.
It's
Could you explain
it's
what then adjustment belief is then?
sure. It's the idea that all disease, so-called disease, starts in the mind. Okay, so yeah. Similarly,
And
traumas
that's
that
that
happen.
dis-ease, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
dis-ease.
indeed.
Yeah.
So traumas that you might have experienced in childhood, right, set up a kind of predisposition for certain diseases, right? So if you suffer grief, that grief attacks essentially your lungs. So
Right.
essentially a thought pattern sets up an emotion, and an
Right.
emotion is essentially a group of chemicals, right, that circulate around your body, and we feel those chemicals as an emotion.
Right.
So anger, for instance, right, there are all those stress hormones and everything, and that feeling of anger, right, or a fear is a better one actually. Fear, that feeling of fear, right? Well, that's a certain set of chemicals and hormones and stuff that's there to get your body ready to deal with the source of that fear. Yeah,
Yeah.
either to run or fight. Okay.
Yeah. Run from the lion.
Yes, run for the lion, or fight the bully with a knife or whatever.
Yeah.
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 But those set of chemicals that are getting your body ready to either run or fight, we feel that as fear. Right? We
Yeah.
feel those chemicals as fear. Right. So what's supposed to happen is that we experience this fear, right? We deal with it, and then our body returns to normal after the fear is dealt with. Okay,
Yeah.
because that's those chemicals are meant to be an emergency response.
Yeah.
Right. So unfortunately, in this society, we are in chronic states of perpetual fear. Even if it's a low level fear, it's there all the time. So
Yes.
those chemicals, which are only meant to be an emergency response, are always present, and they're constantly attacking. In this case, what's fear? I can't remember what fear is. Um, can't remember what fear is. I don't know if it's not the lungs. Oh, I can't remember. It's attacking something. Anyway, let's say it's the lungs. It's not the lungs, but those chemicals are constantly attacking the lungs, and you're going to have respiratory problems,
Right.
right? And you might go, "Oh, where did that come from?" But it's set up by a program that was created when you were a child, and it was continually working on you. So I get people to listen to their self-talk, amongst other things. This is the main one. I get them to listen to their self-talk and really listen to it, because most people hear that chattering in the back of their head, and they think it's themselves talking, but it's not. It's a program. So I get them to listen to it, and then realize that it's like a child version of you that was scared of something or traumatized, when they were, let's say, 8 years old, right? So this 8-year-old is chattering in the back of your head. So as an adult, you would know what to say to an 8-year-old who was standing in front of you saying those things in the back of your head.
Yeah.
So I get people to parent that child program of theirs, from the perspective of an adult, because whatever trauma that child experienced, it was from the mindset of an 8-year-old who didn't understand the world, didn't understand the trauma.
Yeah.
But as an adult, you understand the trauma and you can teach that program that it's no longer needed.
Yeah.
And then
You
it
and I have
goes
got
away.
something in common. A book that changed my life was Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life.
Yeah.
And I was
Because
given that book, and I read that book, and I haven't read loads of books, but that was up at that point, and I read that book, and I read it twice, and and suddenly I started doing mirror work, Dave, and doing affirmations and things.
so this is where I depart a little from where Louise Hay goes. Affirmations, right? Again, think of the small child, right? The 8-year-old in front of you, the 8-year-old version of you standing in front of you, going, oh, "I feel like crap because this is this and that and that and the other." Right? Affirmations are like going, "I am strong, I am powerful, I don't need you." Blah 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 blah. Yeah,
Yep.
that child might might wander away because it's not being listened to, right? But it's going to come back again because you haven't dealt with it. You've just gone, "Go away, I'm not listening to you." Yeah, I'm strong, I'm powerful, blah blah blah. No, you teach the child. You don't shout it down, you teach them, and eventually that child will learn and then realize it's not necessary anymore.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Okay. But I mean, okay. Yeah. Fair enough. And the other thing I wanted you, so if you were talking about like that, your health is all related to maybe your childhood and things like that. Do you think that there are inevitable circumstances that can also affect your health? Let me give you, like, for example, radiation, 5G, 4G, our phones, around us, without us knowing that it's damaging us in some way. Would you agree that can be something? It doesn't matter whether you're Dave, you're still being affected by radiation or by radio waves in the air, or by the new antenna that's been put up, the 5G antenna that's been put up. Do you think that will affect your health?
Of course.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, if you got a magnifying glass, right, on a
Hmm.
hot sunny day,
Yeah.
and you concentrated that beam from the sun on your skin, what's going to happen?
It's going to burn it.
It's going to burn and I can't say the word,
Yeah.
irrevocably damage and burn that skin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the light is simply the same radiation, right, but a different frequency. Right?
Yeah.
There are certain frequencies that are more harmful than others, but radiation will do some damage. And unfortunately, the society that we're in, they have these people know what frequencies are damaging to us, and they've made sure they're using those particular frequencies in the technology, so it's going to harm us, at a very low level, so it doesn't kill you straight away,
Yeah.
right? But it's low level and constant, so that you just end up getting sicker and sicker, right? It's deliberate. They've made no secret of wanting to remove most of the population. So they've been doing it for decades, if not hundreds of years, right? Without us knowing.
And how would you like? So how would you know that? So that at that moment, you're getting ill from something, that you can't say, oh, that's the child within that's caused me that problem. It might be that you are getting radiation poisoning from your phone or from the LED lights. They could be affecting your eyes or whatever, and your sleep pattern. How are you going to be able to overcome that in terms of like the methods that you're talking about for healing yourself?
Right. Well, again, you can't overcome these things. If you're the very first thing I teach people, right, in healing is, rule number one, stop poisoning yourself. Right? If you're in an environment that is poisoning you, right, change your environment. Yeah. Before we started talking, on this live, you mentioned about getting incandescent light bulbs.
Yeah.
Well, if the LED lighting is harming you, then change your light bulbs. Remove the source of the poisoning. Yeah, it's like if you're in a got a stove fire going, right? It doesn't matter how much water or blankets you put over it, right? If you don't turn the gas off first, right, you're not going to be able to do anything, right? So yes, the thought patterns create a predisposition to certain things.
Yeah.
So if okay, so an example with radiation, for instance, okay, EM radiation. If you are stressed, if you're easily stressed,
Yeah.
then the radiation has a bigger effect on you than if you're not stressed.
Right.
I think it's Dr. Bruce Lipton who talks about this. What happens is if you're in an electromagnetic soup, which we're all in actually, and you're stressed, then the radiation affects estrogen. It changes how estrogen works, and you're now kind of in a sort of predisposition for cancer.
So do you think then it's about also not worrying about it so much, and so using it less, so using these bloody things less, not constantly being on them, and trying to keep them away, and don't have wireless Bluetooth headphones in your ears and things like that? You think it's about that so much? It's about just trying to maybe go back to basics more.
Exactly. I used to have an iPhone at one point, right? And I found myself one day walking down the street going, yeah. And then I realized that, you know what? If I need to take a picture, I use my phone. If I need to find out where I am, I'll use my phone. If I need to do anything, I'm constantly using this phone thing, all right? And that means I've got this thing attached to me all the time. So I got rid of the iPhone and I went back to a dumb phone. I've got a little Nokia, a little Nokia dumb phone that all it does is make phone calls and texts sometimes. And, I don't need to carry it with me all the time. A lot of the time I forget to bring it. Yeah. But it's not attached to me. I always have these, I don't know if you can see them, these headphones.
Yeah.
Wired headphones.
I have wired headphones.
I never have the phone to my head anymore.
No, I don't.
When I've got it in my pocket, and I don't have it on me, when I've got it in my pocket, I have this. This is like a card holder thing. Yeah, I hold cards and stuff. Metal card holder. I have this in my pocket. My phone is on the other side of it to my leg. So any radiation is that way and not this way.
Right.
Yeah. So, and it sounds like I'm being sort of pedantic about it, but I'm just like, okay, these are some things I can do, right? And it doesn't mean I have to change my life very much. Having the Nokia means I'm not a slave to this thing. If I want to use Telegram, I've got it on my laptop. I'll use my laptop. I don't need to have that notification with me all the time.
Yeah.
So yes, you can make changes. You don't have to follow the path that they set out for you.
Yeah.
Okay. I often cite this Star Trek Next Generation episode. Right? I don't know if you watched that show.
Yeah, I remember it.
Right. So there's an episode where Data, the android, is playing a grandmaster at a game of chess, and the grandmaster beats him, and everyone's like, how can he beat you? You're a computer. And but by the end of the episode, Data has a rematch, and he beats the grandmaster, and everyone crowds around Data and goes, "Wow, how did you beat him?" And Data said, "I changed the parameters by which I played the game. Instead of trying to win, I was playing to stop him from winning."
Yeah.
Right. So the idea there is, right, they have set out a path for you to follow, a kind of very easy, convenient path for you to follow. Yeah. And in this case, we're talking about phones. They want you to have a phone, everyone to have a phone, so they can implement this credit score system and pay by phone and play. So your phone becomes your gateway into the whole system, right? But for that to work, they need everybody to use it. So they've made life very convenient for using a phone, right? But you don't have to take that path. You can get an old, cheap, nasty phone, right, that does pretty much the same thing as far as making phone calls is concerned. And you can use other areas of technology to do all the other parts. I've got a camera. I don't have to use a camera phone. Yeah, I've got a laptop to do the data stuff. You know, I I've got a sat nav in my car. Yeah. So, you know, I don't need to go on this phone thing. So you can take a different path to everywhere, and you don't have to be controlled by this.
Do you think, I was going to ask you this question later, actually, do you think it's inevitable, the whole CBDC thing?
It doesn't have to be inevitable. Yes, so there's going to be a lot of muggles out there who will go, "Wow, this is good. How convenient." Because they haven't thought it through. They just see the short term, benefits of it. Yeah. But anyone who's got an ounce of critical thinking will go, "Hang on a second, if we go this way with this programmable money, who's going to be programming it, and why? Why are we letting somebody else program how I use this money?" Yeah. So, once you start thinking, you start to see the dystopian, Orwellian, nightmarish, possibilities that this CBDCs, this opens up for them. So I don't think it's inevitable anyway. I think there will be a backlash against it.
I hope so. I really hope so, because I think once people start realizing that their privacy is completely gone, but are you a great? And again, this was a later question, but as we're on that path right now, I want to stick with it. Are you? How do you feel about cash?
Well, at one level, I think we have to preserve it for as long as possible. But another level, I think we don't need it. I think we can actually go straight to a system where we don't use cash whatsoever. It means a bit of a change from the normal life that we're used to, right? But it means going back to trusting people and seeing value in other people. Because I've said this quite a few times now. I had a friend who we had a little chat about money, and he said, "Well, we need money because if I've got 200 eggs, and my friend over there's or this guy over there's got a sheep, and I want that sheep, but he doesn't want my eggs. Well, we need money, as a medium of exchange." Well, I said to him, "What are you doing with 200 eggs? If you try and hoard 200 eggs, they're going to go off. Yeah. Wouldn't it be better if you just give out those eggs to whoever wants them, right? And what will happen is people are going to start to recognize you as that great guy who gives people free eggs, right? And the guy with the sheep is going to go, oh, I hear that that great guy who gives eggs out to people wants a sheep. Here you go, mate, have a sheep. Wouldn't you do that if you knew somebody who was a really good guy, right? And you had all these things that and you hear that this really good guy wants something that you've got in abundance, right? Wouldn't you go, here, mate, have one of these?
I'd do that, Dave, with my salve that I make.
Right. Well, to me, this has already happened. Yeah. I'm going around helping people for free.
Yeah,
And
I know you are. Yeah.
And and people hear about what I'm doing, and every now and again I need some help myself.
Yeah.
So just recently I got into a bit of trouble, right, related to the tour, and I needed help, and I put out a call, not expecting anything, but I put out a call saying I need some help, and immediately I got exactly the help I needed. And I was able to continue on the tour. And from somebody who just went, Dave, have that. So it does work, and it is
what goes
working
around comes around.
Yes, it's at the end of my mortgage talk. I say that we put our faith in bits of paper or plastic now, right? In these pieces of paper with numbers on it, and we all believe. And this is the only way it works. We all believe that these pieces of paper or plastic have value, and we've all agreed
it's
that
a trust system.
Yes, that where it says 50 on this piece of paper, it's worth a lot more than a piece of paper that's got just a 5 on it. Yeah, somehow we think, okay, this is worth more, and we all act accordingly because we put our trust in the value of those pieces of paper. What if we put the trust in the value of good people instead? Right? We just recognize people who are good, honest, friendly people, right? And help them, right? What would happen is we'd get a system where the good people are promoted in this world, right? And the wicked people are demoted to the bottom. Now we're in a system which is flipped up the other way. Right, the wicked get promoted. Yeah, they're the ones that are the heads of corporations and are ruling the world. Yeah, and the good people are always stuck at the bottom. If we flip that on its head, where the good people are promoted and revered because they're good, they're good, honest, decent people, right? The wicked will be forced to be good people or be outcast. Because who wants to help somebody who's wicked?
It's true.
Yeah, so they're going to be forced to, act for the rest of their lives, act like a good person. Because the moment people find out that they're being wicked, that's over for them. Yeah, that's the way I see it. Anyway.
Also, money can be inflated as well.
Money is a technology.
Yeah, it
right?
can. You've got inflation as well. The more they're printing of it, the more devalued it is.
Yeah, and the ones who are in charge of this technology, the ones operating this technology, can not only enslave us, but they can manipulate us, they can corrupt us, they can have us dance to their tune. In my mortgage talk, I explain how, for instance, if you get a mortgage, right, they know, right, it is mathematically impossible for 70% of people to pay their mortgages off. It is a mathematical certainty that 70% of people won't be able to pay their mortgage off. Okay. And the way it works is when they create the money for your mortgage, right, they only create the principal. They don't create the interest. Well, that might seem like an innocuous thing. It doesn't mean very much. But think about this. If 10 people get a mortgage out for £100,000, okay, and there's no money in the world at this point, no money in the world, 10 people get a mortgage out for £100,000, and they spend that money into the system. So now there's £1 million in the system. Okay.
Yeah.
The problem is each one of those people have to pay back 300,000. Right. So there needs to be £3 million in the world for them to all pay their mortgages. But because there's only one, that means only three of those 10 people are going to be able to pay their mortgages off. Right. The only way those 7 others are going to get to pay their mortgages off is if the bank loans mortgages to another 20 people. So those 7 can pay their mortgages off.
Yeah.
But now it leaves 20 who can't. So the
Yeah.
bank has to now lend to another 60 people so that the 20 can pay their mortgages off, and so on and so on and so on. Yeah. Now that means the bank can control, right, recessions and depressions simply by doing something really quietly and sneakily and just restricting the number of loans. Yeah. So if the banks stop making loans, then all of a sudden, all the defaults start catching up. Yeah, because there's no new money being put in to pay them off. So the defaults start, and now you've got a depression. Yeah, so they can do a plausible, deniable thing that creates a depression, and nobody's any the wiser. Yeah, and this is what they're doing. They're restricting loans right now.
Yeah.
Right? And now these mortgages are coming to term, so we're heading for a massive Armageddon.
And they're not giving anyone any interest on their savings either.
Say that again.
And they're not giving anyone any interest on their savings hardly at all.
Oh, not that you ever got rich on the savings for your.
No, exactly.
You know,
Can I
so
ask you, Dave? And lastly, about money, what's your opinion on decentralized cryptos?
Unfortunately, I don't rate them at all because I used to be a programmer on Wall Street. Okay, so that's the job I was doing when cryptocurrency first came out. Okay, and when it first came out, the code was available, and so we went and had a look at this code, and we thought there was something fishy about it. For one thing, when somebody writes some really good code, and this was a amazingly, good code, right? When somebody writes some, they usually go, I wrote this. This is my work. Look at this. I did this, but nobody was taking responsibility for it. And when, it came out that somebody, we had a name, none of us knew who it was, which again is unusual in programming circles. Yeah. Now, we came across the cover of the Economist magazine in 1988. Right now, this was 20 years before cryptocurrency came out, and on this cover, it had a phoenix rising out of a pile of burning cash, with a chain around its neck and a coin, right, looking very much like Bitcoin, right, around its neck, and the year on it with 2018. Again, this is 1988. Yeah, so it's showing out of cash is going to rise a phoenix of Bitcoin. Yeah, and I think the heading was "Get ready for world currency." Right.
Yeah.
So it's telling you in that cover what their plans were for 40 years ahead. Right. And sure enough, in 2018, that's when Bitcoin got into the mass consciousness. Before that, it was just a bunch of geeks who were trading these things called Bitcoins, and nobody knew what it was. But 2018 is when it bursts onto the public consciousness.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a plan. Right. It's the cashless money system the banks have been wetting themselves over, right? Ever since they created the Federal Reserve. They've always wanted this cashless system, so that we're completely under the control of this cashless system. Yeah.
But you're not against decentralized worlds, though, are you? Or are you?
What do you mean?
Like decentralized governments and things like that.
I'm against all governments. I think the best government is no government.
Yeah,
right?
I'm with you there. Yeah, I'm completely
An
with you.
example of what I mean is, a lot of people believe that we need all the rules and regulations on the roads, right?
Yeah,
This is like a microcosm of government, right?
yeah,
We need government on the roads, yeah, to put traffic lights up and have signs made and lines in the road and rules and regulations. You've got to do this and stop here and do that. No, right? I just I spend sort of 5 or 6 months of the year in St. Lucia, and I love driving in St. Lucia because there are no rules on the road. Yeah, somewhere somebody says put some rules up, but nobody follows them, right? So there's no police hiding behind bushes and waiting for you, speed guns. Yeah, there's no markings on the road. There's no every now and again you might see a speed what do you call it, the signs with speed on it, what do they call them? I've blanked on the name. Signs that tell you the speed to go to. I don't
okay,
know
yeah,
yeah, so you don't see them. Very occasionally you'll see one or two, but there's no actual hard and fast rules. People stop in the middle of the street to have a chat with somebody, yeah, and people park wherever they want as long as they're not blocking somebody in. They park wherever they want, and
hmm
nobody's just there waiting. Go, oh, you parked wrongly, or you can't do that, and no, it's just easy, right?
speed
But
limits, Dave.
speed limits. That's it.
Thanks,
Just
Dilly.
blanked on that. But the point is, there are hardly any accidents, right? And there's no strife on the road because people aren't sort of fussed about rules and regulations. The more regulations you have, the more accidents, the more frustration, the more problems you get, because naturally we know how to navigate and move around each other, right, in a safe way. We do it all the time.
Yeah,
If you walk through a crowded a shopping center, yeah, loads and loads of people milling around, you're not bumping into people every 5 seconds, are you? You're moving around each other like a murmuration of starlings. You don't see birds bashing into each other. No, because we've got these senses and abilities to navigate and figure stuff out. So we don't need rules and regulations on the road, right? And there are countries around the world that you can go to, like India, for instance. Right? You go to a traffic junction in India, there's no traffic lights or anything, and the cars are going like this.
I've seen it.
And in the middle of cars going like this, people are crossing the road, and they're doing it safely. Nobody's getting hurt, no accidents, right? So no, we don't need it. We're just used to this idea that we need all these rules and regulations. We don't. We can function just as well, in fact better, without rules and regulations.
You don't believe in supplements, do you, Dave?
No, I don't.
So no
Most,
vitamins, no minerals, no omega fats like 3, 6, and 9, and things like
no,
that.
the human body manufactures everything it needs internally.
Right.
Yeah, atoms don't eat. Atoms don't need anything added to them to survive. Molecules don't need anything added to them. Yeah, the cells in your body don't need anything added to it. They don't eat. Yeah, so why would an organism created of cells that don't eat need to eat or take in things from external?
So when we see studies where people have supplemented, right, and they've proven that supplementing with these things has had an effect, a positive effect, is that what's going on there then?
Well, the effect is the same as the allopathic system. Yeah,
Right.
all right. The effect might change symptoms, deal with symptoms, but it's not actually healing the actual problem. Yeah, same as the allopathic method. Yeah, so yes, you can take a supplement and a symptom might go away, or not go away, be hidden, suppressed, right?
hmm
But whatever caused that symptom isn't changed.
Right.
So yes, you might get an effect, but is it a beneficial effect?
So what about going back to like uh, um, medicine from plants and things like that, and the history of medicine from plants, would you say that's wrong? For example, weed, cannabis, like Rick Simpson, he produced the classic RSO oil, didn't he? And people got rid of their tumors and things like that on their skin and things.
Yeah, well, the Old Testament says, let the herbs be your medicine. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I believe that yes, there are herbs and stuff that are helpful, but at the end of the day, your body doesn't need anything external, right? If you leave your body alone, let it do its job, it will return to an equilibrium. That and again, we're in a situation which is completely unnatural, where we're blanketed with poisons. You just ingested some poisons right there, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Well, there you go. We're surrounded with poison, so we're in a very sort of unusual situation, because we're literally poisoning ourselves left, right, and center, and our body's struggling to deal with it.
Yeah, and you're also an advocate of fasting, aren't you?
Absolutely, but the way I see it, fasting doesn't actually inherently do anything to help you. What it actually does is liberate energy. Okay, because you've got a finite amount of energy that you're using, and if you're eating, then your body essentially uses something like 80% of your energy to digest food. So if you start fasting, the energy that you would have used for digestion, well, is now liberated, and your body immediately uses this extra energy for, repair and maintenance work.
Right. I just got to show you this. This made me laugh. I just seen it, Dave. Look. There's a don't eat shit, just drink piss.
That's pretty much it.
I thought that was quite good. And here's a quick question for you from Miss Blue Sky. Does Dave drink anything else other than urine? In that case, what?
Okay, distilled water,
yeah.
and freshly squeezed fruit juice. Not so much in this country, but when I'm in St. Lucia or Turkey or somewhere like that, where I can almost guarantee the fruit is free of pesticides and stuff, then I squeeze fruit juice all the time.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for that.
In St. Lucia, literally it was fruit from my mum's garden, and so I know there's no pesticides because she ain't using them. And so every morning I'd go out, we'd get all the fruit from the garden, and literally make a fruit salad out of it, and squeeze the juice.
And what are your thoughts on mushrooms as a health supplement? A lot of people are using that.
I'm not sure about as a health supplement, but I love mushrooms.
Okay. I mean, I take supplements, Dave. I've just started also having lion's mane because I read a lot of stuff about that. But I just didn't know what your thoughts were on that.
I've never taken supplements. Most of the time, they're in a form your body can't metabolize anyway.
So you don't think that intravenous vitamin C is very good?
I'm sure it is. But I prefer to get it from fruit rather than anything else.
Okay, fair enough. And let's move on to religion and flat Earth. How does your religious belief manifest in your day-to-day life, Dave? What you believe. How does it manifest itself in? Is it every part of how you think about life? Because you're quite a religious man.
I'm not a religious man. I do not have a religious belief at all.
Okay.
But
you believe in a creator, or
absolutely
right?
I've adopted the way of life of the Hebrew Israelite of the Old Testament. So I keep the Sabbath. So I literally don't do anything on a Saturday, and I don't eat the things that are unclean according to the book.
Right.
And every time I gave up something because it's in the book, and I gave it up. I immediately found out why I was supposed to give it up. The example is I used to love prawns, and used to love it. You see loads of them, and the book says don't eat them. So I gave them up, and immediately I saw a picture of a prawn and a cockroach together, and I realized, oh, the cockroach is there to get rid of the crap on the land, and the shrimp is exactly the same animal to do the same thing in the sea. So why am I eating sea cockroaches?
I see. That's a good. Yeah, I can see your point there.
Yeah. And pork, the pig is like a toxic waste dump, right?
Yeah.
It eats all the crap on the earth, and it can't sweat, so it's not getting rid of all the toxins. So literally it's locking in all this toxic waste until it dies, and then it's transmuted into safe chemicals and stuff.
Mm.
So we're not supposed to be eating those things.
Yeah, and you're a believer. You're a follower or a believer, would I say, of the Bible, but not the New Testament. Would that be correct?
Absolutely, yes. The
So
Old
you think
Testament,
the New Testament it was made up?
it was made up, and again, I don't think I mentioned this. I was an atheist for 40 years. I didn't
Right.
want anything to do with religions and Bibles and things.
Mm.
But when I read the Bible for the first time, I found that it was a story that I could understand. I mean, after a little full start, I read through it, and I literally could understand it as a story. But then when I hit the New Testament, something grated with me. It's like, no, this doesn't fit.
Yeah.
So I decided to research the Old Testament, and what I found, right, was more detail to the story. When you add in some of the books that they took out, right, you just get more detail to the story. And some of the details were what happened to the enemies of the Israelites, who they became. And it turns out they became the Greeks and the Romans, right? Now, the enemy are the people who call themselves the Edomites, okay? They became the Greeks and the Romans. Now, the Edomites are the only people that the Most High says he hates, right? He hates these people, right? But somehow, the people that the Most High hates were able to decide what books go in and are taken out of the Bible. Yeah. The book also says, the Old Testament also says, that these people were going to write themselves into the book, and that's what literally happened with the New Testament. The book says, "Do not add or take away from this word."
Yeah.
And anything called new means added.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, I could go on, because I spent a long time looking at all the claims in the New Testament and testing it against what was written in the Old Testament, and finding that no, they've got no connection whatsoever.
And how did that fit in with your questioning the shape of the Earth, Dave? And I mean, was that when you became, you started reading the Bible, and about the firmament and things like that?
Well, that was actually the catalyst for me to actually read the book in the first place, because three things popped up to tell me, go and have a look at this book. And the third one was somebody saying, the Old Testament is a flat earth book, don't you? I'm like, is it? So I read through it again, and sure enough, it talks about a flat stationary earth, and with a firmament over it. Exactly the model that we subscribe to, essentially.
And what really was it the Bible that really changed your mind with that, or was it other people's research as well? Like just before the show, you and I were talking about the Bedford Flats experiment, for example.
No, it wasn't the Bible that got me into the flat Earth, right? It was the other way round, right?
Right. Okay. Okay.
But what got me into flat Earth was I watched a video that wasn't really a flat Earth video, but it mentioned the Bedford Levels experiment.
Yeah.
And part of that the experiment was talking about the calculation for finding out how much curvature over a certain distance there is. Okay, so that the 8 inches per mile squared calculation, very simple. Yeah. So
And who came out with who came out with that curvature measurement? By the way, what do we
I
know?
believe it was Robotham.
Okay.
Robotham, yeah, Samuel Robotham. Yeah, so that's a very simple calculation for a very particular size of sphere, right? So
Wasn't it
the size of the Earth,
26,000,
24,901.
24,000? No, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So so armed with that calculation, I went down to Plymouth Hoe, where off the coast there's a lighthouse called the Eddystone Lighthouse.
Mm-hmm.
It's 12 miles off, and according to the calculation, I should have not been able to see the first 32 feet of that lighthouse. So I went down to the coast. I went down to the beach with my P900 camera, the flat Earth camera of choice, and put the camera right close to the water and zoomed into the lighthouse. And not only could I see the bottom of the lighthouse where the rocks met the water, but I could see the horizon, right, way beyond the lighthouse.
Right.
Now, bearing in mind, my camera was inches above the water. Okay. Now, according to the spherical trigonometry, right, the horizon from that point of view should have been less than a mile away. Okay. So I shouldn't have been again, less than a mile away. I should see the horizon, and then the lighthouse above 32 feet, right? But yet I saw the horizon way behind the lighthouse, which was 12 miles away. So that's where I realized that no, if we can't be on a ball that's got a circumference of 24,901 miles.
Right. And there's a few people in the chat because I knew this would get the some people are saying, is it refraction? Is it light that bends?
Yeah, that's now when we came out with these things, that's the default response from the scientific establishment. And no, it's not refraction. Refraction works in a completely different way. It doesn't bring things in its entirety over a curve, right? It's in such a way that it looks like a flat Earth. No, refraction, it distorts things, it stretches them, it compresses them, right? But it doesn't take things that are hidden and bring them over a curve.
Nick GB says pilot training manuals assume a flat, non-rotating Earth. Now, why would they do that? If we were on a spinning globe?
And lots of NASA documents do exactly the same
I've
thing.
read NASA documents that say it's stationary and it's flat.
Yeah,
I remember seeing those years ago, Dave. That was another thing of mine. You might have to go on the Wayback Machine, or what do they call it? Archive.org, is it?
Yeah.
You might have to go on archive.org to find those documents now. But I remember reading a NASA document that said it was all flat.
Well, what NASA are doing now is
not that I trust NASA, by the way.
No.
in terms of we walked on the moon or whatever.
But what NASA's doing right now is they're going back and fixing the mistakes that we find. Yeah. An example of it is in 2015, I downloaded an image from NASA's website of Buzz Aldrin coming down the ladder on the moon, supposedly. Yeah.
Who took the photo?
It was Neil Armstrong. No, I'm not disputing that. He took the photo of Buzz Aldrin coming down the ladder. Yeah. And it's a famous one. Aldrin's leg is kicked up and all that. And you've got the Earth, right, on the horizon, right, in the background. Okay. So I looked at that picture and realized that there's no way the Earth could be on the horizon in that picture, because when you see, you know, obviously the moon only shows that one face, right? So the center of the moon is lined up with the center of the Earth, right? Because every time you look at the moon, you just see that one face. Yeah. The Apollo 11 landing site was about, what, maybe at the most 15 degrees off the center of the moon, right? So there's no way the Earth could ever be on the horizon, right? Because the Earth will only be at the most 15 degrees off center overhead.
Right.
So that picture of the moon, the Earth in the background, fake. And that's proof, because it can't ever be there from that place.
What do you think?
What NASA did was they cropped the Earth out of that picture. So you go on the site now and try and find that picture, you'll only find a bit without the Earth in it.
I like this from Spanish Chicken. Dave, you got a compliment here. Here we go. Look, what I really like about Dave is that he has an alternative ideas about living, thinking, and life, but he does not shout and try to push his opinion. He just states his thoughts in a nice, easy way.
Well, that's all I hope to do.
And that's why we love you, Dave, you see. And they even named a channel after you, Dave.
Yes, they did. That's why I know it's my universe, yeah.
What are your thoughts on how long we've been here and how many times we've been reset, Dave? What do you think about that?
Okay, it depends.
I mean, this fits into the old Tartaria, Greco-Romano buildings, electro-culture. Do you think it's all a bit mixed in there, all of that?
Right. Well, I don't know if you've seen the Lost History of Flat Earth by Iwa Anon.
No, I haven't seen that one.
Okay. Now, he put forward an amazing explanation, which I tend to subscribe to.
Okay.
So imagine, right, the Earth is a massive pond, right? Mm-hmm. And it's frozen over completely, right? And over 1/4 of that pond, there's a heat source going around, melting a circle, you know, in one corner of that pond, you know, 1/4 of it. Okay. Now that is our Earth, and the sun and moon are going around a magnetic center point, right? And they're melting it. It's melting out a puddle in that larger pond.
Okay.
Right. Well, that magnetic center is slowly moving around the greater, you know, the larger pond. Yeah. And it's taking the sun with it. And so it's melting out a different puddle as it's moving around the greater pond.
Right.
So continents in our Earth are going under the ice, and new continents are appearing from under the ice.
Right.
Right. So to me, that makes more sense than this idea of a mud flood that covered the entire Earth, right, and the sea and all that. Because as a new continent comes out from under the ice, well, that ice is going to melt, and that water's got to go somewhere. So that water stirs up the silt, right? Stirs up the mud and earth and stuff on this continent. Yep. And then when it drains away, the Earth settles at a different level. So what they're finding on these new continents are cities that are already built, right, but had to be abandoned when they went under the ice.
Right.
So it's evidence of a worldwide culture, right, that is all over the greater Earth. Okay. And what they've done is they've, you know, the elite have gone about hiding that information with, you know, series of man-made and natural cataclysms, right? And you know, engineered, you know, events, false flag events, like, you know, the bubonic plague, I believe, was one of them, and you know, all these great fires.
Spanish flu.
Yeah, every city Every major city has had a great fire.
And a great fire, yeah.
Yeah, so so they've engineered things. So I'm not sure it's a reset as such. I think it's a progression that's happening, and it gets to a point where they stage all these events and kill off a load of people, and I guess they force a reset by moving people from one continent to another, and then starting over and then rewriting history so that we don't know what's today we don't know what happened.
So who do you think, like, I mean, it doesn't seem to make sense. I've looked at the whole population thing and like how many people were around, like when you look at how many people were around in the mid 18th century and stuff like that. And the technology, who do you think made the technology of these Greco-Romano buildings and
An
go on,
earlier incarnation of civilization.
much more intelligent than us?
Yes, we've been brainwashed to believe that we are the pinnacle of intelligence. Yeah, and obviously, they point to the space race and say, look, we've got no, we know that no, nobody's gone to space. They're just brainwashing us with I don't know, helium balloons and rockets, fireworks and stuff, and telling us a story that we're out in space. We're not. Our computers, right? We'll look at computers and say, oh, look, high technology. They're not high technology. I built a computer when I was 6 out of a cereal packet knitting needles. I know it sounds silly, but it's the same principles in that cereal box computer are in the computers we're using today. It's just that using different materials and and they're better than index cards and knitting needles. Nuclear power station, right? We point to that and say, look how intelligent we are, we've got nuclear power. Well, all it is if you pile radium together, it heats up. Right? You get a critical mass, it starts to heat up. And what they do is they pile radium together, it heats up, they put a steam engine on top of it, and 19th century technology, yeah, and they generate power from it. It's not high tech.
It's funny how they're getting rid of that as well, Dave.
Yes, they're trying to get into even lower tech.
Wasn't there that guy that used to eat radium?
Yes, Galen Windsor. And this is how I found out about it. He going around saying that he was responsible for designing some of these things, and he said radium and radium isn't dangerous. Radiation or certain radiation isn't dangerous. We used to walk around with plutonium in our pockets.
Yeah,
and we used to swim in the containment pools. And it was only that the government suddenly turned around and said, oh, you've got to wear dosimeters to limit your exposure. And they were like, what? No, you don't. And anybody who complained got fired. So,
that's right. Yeah.
It's all...
He said that they suddenly started putting up warning signs and things like that. And he was like, why are you doing that? Because he used to go swimming, didn't he?
In the containment pools.
In the containment tanks.
Yeah, well, we sort of started. Well, me and my friend started looking at this because we had a group that used to meet on Skype on a Friday night and chat into the early hours. And one of our group, came back from holiday, and he said, "Yeah, I've just been on holiday in Hiroshima," and we were like,
"Yeah,
what?
Yeah.
What? You were in the the dead zone? You went on holiday there?" He said, "No, it's a beautiful city." And nobody's sick. There's no radiation poisoning. And we're like, what the? How? I thought that that place was going to be desolate for 10,000 years. But no, nothing happened there. And then you look into Chernobyl, and you realize that. You realize that all the only thing that's happened there is when the humans moved out, all the animals moved in. All the wildlife came back. And there's no radiation. In fact, there was a whole load of old women who refused to move out of the hot zone. and they're living quite happily there. And then when you look a little further into it, you find something like only 15 people apparently died. Everyone else was cured of radiation
Someone just
poisoning.
said, Dave.
So no, it
Someone
didn't
just
happen. It
said,
was a false flag.
didn't that man die of cancer in the end? Didn't that lad die of cancer in the end of the Radian guy?
No, he didn't. They might have tried to spin the story to try and hide it, but no, he didn't die of radiation poisoning.
Yeah, and Rich T is saying Hiroshima was destroyed by fire bombs.
Carpet bombing with incendiaries. I mean, it was essentially a paper city made of paper and wood, and they were like relentlessly carpet bombing it. So yeah, it's again I didn't say it again. I'm thinking I'm in the middle of a talk. The bloodline behind this, if you look at the description of the progenitor of this bloodline, one of his gifts was deception. They were cunning hunters and very deceitful and cunning. So they would use deception, right, as a weapon. So yes, if they can, and think about it, with this idea of nuclear annihilation, right, which doesn't exist, they got a whole generation of people terrified out of their minds, hiding under their tables, because of this idea that they may get bombed with nuclear bombs.
It's fear, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Again, it's going to change those chemicals in your body.
Absolutely, yeah. And they don't even have to do anything. They just have to put a few stories out there, and it scares the pants out of people.
Yeah. But I mean, we're coming to the end of the show, Dave, and I just want to come back. There was a question that I forgot to ask you with regards to health. What do you think of natural energy healing? People who do praying and energy healing with hands-on and things like that, and distant healing. What do you think of that? Do you think that works?
Well, one of the things I know happens is we know about the placebo effect. Okay, so if you believe something's going to heal you, then it's your body's going to make that happen, right? But there's another interesting secondary effect. If the doctor, giving you the placebo, also believes that it's going to help you, that effect is like doubled, right? So literally the belief of the person giving the placebo is also contributing to its effect on you. So again, if you extend that, if you have people praying over you or wishing you good thoughts or visualizing you healthy, right, it's like the doctor believing in the placebo he's giving you.
But you personally as well do believe that energy, we can have positive energy thoughts. Like we were talking about the fact that the water, the Japanese guy who did the water experiments, and he played classical music, and the shape of the crystals came out beautiful, and he played rock music and things like, and he showed like the Hitler to it and God knows what, and they were all horrible shape and things like that. You're also you also concur with that what we give out, people, like if we give out positive energy, it'll be received as positive energy.
Absolutely, because this is a thought-based universe. Yeah. You are a thought in the mind of the Most High. Okay, our universe is created of information. That's essentially it. We've just got information flowing into us that we're interpreting as reality. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's just information, and we can affect that information, right? And so the information that you are sick and you've got cancer, that's literally just a body of information that you've taken on board. Okay.
Yeah.
And you can alter that information, because that's all it is. It's just information. If you want to believe it, well, then that information is strengthened. If you don't believe it, right, and you believe a different story that no, that cancer is gone, then that new information from you and that same information from other sources now can overwrite that previous information. That's
Yeah.
all it is. This is information.
Do you think, coming back to the whole flat Earth thing, do you? What about the whole stopping us from going to the South Pole and the North Pole? You think that's all part of it?
Yeah, of course, because the answer to all of this is in Antarctica.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether this is a flat motionless Earth or whether it's a ball in space, the answers are down there, which is why they won't let us go down there. That's
Yeah.
why the Antarctic Treaty is in force. And there's a video you can go and find. It's of a bunch of guys in a sailing boat, just gone off a fishing boat, sorry, and they've gone off from I think it's New Zealand or Australia, and they go, let's head to the ice shelf. So they set their speedboat and they're off towards the ice shelf, and all of a sudden on the radar there's a warship appears. Right, it's HMS
I've seen that
Hobart.
video.
Yeah,
I've seen it.
the warship turns up and says, "Stop and go back."
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, so people say no, of course you can go to Antarctica, but no, you can't. Not without permission.
Do you think the pictures? Have you seen some of those pictures coming out of Cook's expedition? And there's a lot of pictures coming out. I don't know if they're real or not. Have you seen any of that where they're showing like sort of statues and things like that he took photos?
I have. Well, he could have taken photos. They didn't have cameras back in Cook's day.
Well, there you go. Or maybe it was the other fella. Who was it? Bird.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Well, I've just seen, the warm water lakes and the places without snow
Yeah.
that are apparently deep in there. But with regards to Captain Cook, the mere fact that he went around Antarctica,
He
right,
circumnavigated, didn't he?
Circumnavigated it,
Yeah.
and he went for 60,000 miles.
Yeah.
Over 3 years, when the circumference of the Earth is 24,901 miles. Somehow he managed to go much further than that around Antarctica.
And Dave, that is a really good point to end people's arguments on the Earth, the shape of the Earth as well. Actually, I think that's a really good conclusive point, and I'm in your camp, Dave. Actually,
Yeah.
and someone asked the question, Dave, do you think there's going to be a fake alien invasion?
I am waiting for it. I can't wait for it. It's like we know it's coming, right? And I want to see that mile-wide ship in the sky, so I can go, "Oh, that looks really good. It looks really good."
Yeah, because you also read the same book as me, or you quoted him. I forget his bloody name now. Who had his finger cut off in the cave, and he said there was going to be a fake alien invasion. Oh God, I forget his name now. American guy, and they shot him.
Phil Schneider.
Phil Schneider. Thank you very much. Yeah. Do you think Phil Schneider was genuine? He did warn of a fake alien invasion as well, didn't he?
I think he was genuine, but I think he got his own interpretation of what he saw. He saw things in terms of aliens and things, but I don't think they're aliens. I think they've always been here. And
Nephilim.
Yeah, Nephilim. It goes along with what Werner Brown was saying to his assistant, that the last card was going to be an alien invasion.
Yeah.
So let's wait for the last card.
Yeah. It looks like it might come, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, they've been ramping up all the the alien sightings and what they plan to do when the aliens arrive and all that stuff. So yeah, it's coming.
What do you think ghosts are, Dave?
Ghosts are, well, the Book of Enoch tells you what ghosts are. They're the evil spirits, the spirits of the Nephilim when they die. Their spirits can't go anywhere. They're stuck on Earth, wandering around as disembodied spirits.
Right. Okay. Well, I'd like to thank everyone who's joined the show tonight in the chat and for the questions. I'm sorry if I didn't get to answer or ask your question. I really appreciate Dave coming on. It was great to meet you, Dave, and at that concert. Where's your next trip? Where is that to?
I think I'm appearing in Bromley, Bromley by Bow. I think I'm talking about tax and utilities. And then I've got a couple of others in London, and then I'm up to Scotland.
Right. Okay. Well done. We have an after chat, Dave. We do a private after chat. It can have up to 10 people. If you want to leave, you can leave after the show finishes, or if you want to have a quick chat with people just for 5 or 10 minutes, you're welcome to stay. But whatever you feel you want to do, I'm just going to put the link up now, and the invite link up now. I'm just going to copy it and I'm going to put it in the chat. So yeah, if you want to join the after show, it can take. There's going to be eight people, including myself and Dave. Dave, are you staying or are you going? What are you doing? I don't know.
I could stay for a little while, yeah.
Yeah, so Dave will be here as well. So we can you can maybe have a quick chat with Dave as well. Thanks again, Dave. Thanks everyone for joining the chat tonight. I really appreciate it, and I'll be back next Tuesday with another health show. In the meantime, remember, they may come as good as you, but they don't come any better. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you next Tuesday, or see you in the after chat. The link's up now, so see you then. Bye for now.